Oh my God, we're done. Oh my God, thank you so much. It was so lovely. It's going to be a very nice episode.
You think?
Yes, yes. Trust us.
I think some answers are not like the best.
Oh my God, I love that you're such a perfectionist.
But I'm a bit of a perfectionist.
But you don't worry about it. I mean, it's not our first rodeo. Don't worry. Hello everyone, and welcome to The Middle Ground. My name is Victoria Muradian, and I'm the host for today's episode. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our social media accounts. We really enjoy seeing your comments and feedback on our videos, and we hope you will continue to be active. Today, we have Petra Petan on the show. Petra is a Slovenian-born writer and former European Commission policy advisor, whose life and work have been profoundly shaped by Brussels. After building a distinguished career in European affairs, including serving in the cabinet of Commissioner Paolo Gentiloni, Paola made a very important decision to take a break from Berlaymont and to embrace a new chapter of motherhood. Her reflection on identity, ambition, parenting, and belonging have struck a chord with many people in Brussels. Now focusing on her lifelong passion for writing, Petra is building her newsletter and she's working on her first book. Today, we are going to discover how she finds her middle ground. Welcome, Petra. So nice to have you on The Middle Ground.
Thanks so much. The pleasure is all mine.
Petra, you once said that Brussels is something you keep wanting more and all the time. What does the city give you that you couldn't find somewhere else?
With this phrase, I was referring to this saying that happiness is wanting what you already have. And I think this is my case for Brussels. I consider like being in a good marriage with it. There are ups and downs, but essentially you know why you're there, and you also know that the next up is just around the corner. So I lived in New York, London, and Paris. You know, all these world's great metropolises. But it was only in Brussels that I could find this area of complete personal freedom that none of these other cities could give me before. So it was the freedom to be really who I want to be, not who the city wants me to be. It gives you the freedom to be yourself. For example, when I was living in New York, all these other cities overwhelmed me a little bit with their very strong identity and their forceful energy. In New York City, I dreamed of becoming an actress. In Paris, I wanted to be a critical theorist. In London, I thought that I failed at life if I didn't become a Big Four management consultant. But it was really only in Brussels that I could just be who I was, like the full person beyond the labels. Mm-hmm. I think it's because of this specific Belgian brand of this liberalism with a soft European touch. You know, it's like a city that is in constant flux, kind of like a constant construction site, for better or worse. There's all these people that come here to refashion their lives. It's kind of like a beautiful symbol for the European Union, really.
It's very interesting that you actually talked about freedom and freedom to be yourself in Brussels, because it hasn't been the idea we have received so far with our former guests and in general. We heard a lot about how Brussels is actually a very rigid place where you don't have a lot of freedom to have personality. But you have been writing a lot about Brussels in the past months, and you described it as a fairy godmother, the city that allows you to be yourself and to have freedom for everybody who comes here. You even quoted Belgian playwright Erik Emanuel Schmid, who wrote something along the lines of, in London, you have to become a Londoner, in Paris, you become a Parisian, but in Brussels, you don't become Bruxellois, you just become yourself. When you have so much freedom to choose who you want to be, how do you actually pick?
I mean, I think it's a beautiful quote. I think a lot of people resonated with this quote. And I think the reason why it's true for me is because I really have inhabited Brussels more broadly, and I went beyond the European institutions in my 8 years here, partly due to my husband, who is Belgian, who is from Brussels. I always loved this counterbalance of living here and escaping just the European bubble, which indeed can be a bit rigid. You know, there's all these rules and institutions and people that are very career focused in this kind of hierarchical systems of public administration. But I think that, especially if I compare to the previous cities that I lived, that gave me something in that particular moment, but that I could not really imagine living in the long term. Like Brussels, for me, has given me also a chance to reinvent myself already a few times. And that's why I think it's a keeper. That's why I love it so much, because it's given me the space to explore my public affairs interests at the European Commission when I was at peak of my career drive, when I was a little younger already. Then it's given me a chance now to transition into motherhood and embrace this new period of life. And again, I feel, the pendulum is swinging again, and this next chapter is coming for me. And I'm exploring this more creative side of me. And Brussels, the reason I love it is because it held space for so many different versions of me. This is, I think, what I want to say about this freedom to be who you want to be here.
That's lovely, because from what I understand is the freedom in itself is a gift, because you don't have to pick who you want to be. You can keep choosing all the different versions of you and exploring all the different versions of you. And it's a lovely that we talk about it now, because in January you made a LinkedIn post about taking a break from Berlaymont and from your job in the cabinet of a commissioner. And that post went viral, because people couldn't probably maybe comprehend why would anyone at the peak of their career choose motherhood. First of all, why do you think that post and your statement and your emotions about what was happening in your life resonated with so many people?
I didn't expect such an overwhelming response. I mean, I just wanted to update my network on what was next for me. But I think the response came in part because it's a fundamental dilemma that most people, especially women, get confronted at some point in their professional lives. And, usually it's a bit unfortunate that peak career and also your child rearing years coincide. So in a way, you have to make a choice, or you have to combine them in a way which is very hard. And I think what happened there is that it's a universal question and people saw themselves in it. The responses that I got were from so many different people. There were people who did the same thing, reassuring me, it's been done before, nobody died, you'll be fine. This was very nice and very reassuring. There were people, women, who chose the opposite, but still respected my decision and could understand it. Maybe there were some women who did the opposite, chose the career and wished that they could have done it in a different way, that they had other options available to them at the time. But what I really liked was kind of this solidarity in the different responses, because everybody makes their own choices. But in the end, it was like, we make the best with what we have in the moment. And we make different decisions. It's very personal, very specific, but in the end, it's the system that is kind of difficult.
Petra, I really love the amount of discussion your post actually triggered on social media, and one of the most interesting parts in that post was your comparison of motherhood as a penalty and as a reward. I'm sure you will agree with me that it's not random that a lot of women see motherhood, this beautiful period in their lives, as some sort of penalty. Because they lose the momentum. There's also a massive divide in the dating world. Women feel like they cannot really rely on their partners as much. The network rotates, and you not necessarily come back to your same colleagues when you are done with your maternity leave, and so many other factors. Yeah. So my question is, will this binary exist forever, reward and penalty, or something needs to change in the system for us to come out of it?
Yes. I mean, I romanticized a bit my decision and I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a motherhood reward, even if the system is not willing to give it to me, you know, because I think it's ultimately very unfair and all the numbers on motherhood penalty are scary, and there's money lost, career opportunities lost, promotions, all of this, pension gap in the end of the day. I wanted to make a decision that was driven by my internal logic. I didn't want to make a decision out of fear that one day I will be a data point on this motherhood penalty chart, right? I mean, let's see what happens with me financially over the course of my life. But I think that it's very unfair that people make decisions because the system is broken and they make decisions against their wishes. Women are seriously penalized here, and I think this will not change until we stop treating the uninterrupted male career as the norm and female interrupted careers as a deviation from the norm. So what can we do about it? I mean, I think let's interrupt men's careers as well. Let's enforce parental leave. Let's give them a longer parental leave. In my birth prep, I met so many young fathers because the mentality is really shifting, who would just beg, borrow, and steal to have a longer parental leave. So I think it's also unfair to them that they don't have more of a chance to bond with their babies. So I think if we equalize a little bit the caring responsibilities here, this would already go a long way.
Petra, I have mentioned in the intro that you are originally from Slovenia, and even though you have left the country many years ago, it still lives in you, very much active. Would you please tell me, how do you feel about being Slovenian in Brussels, and what part of the culture are the most prevalent in your personality right now that you're carrying with you, even after having built a life somewhere else?
The funny thing about Slovenians, one thing you have to know is that we find it very hard to leave. Even if we're complaining a lot when we're there, we don't want to move elsewhere. We're very attached. And I found this for myself as well. Even though I've been here for 8 years, I still consider Slovenia home. I say that now I have 2 homes, and I'm traveling quite a lot between the two because I need this to feel balanced and happy. I mean, I'm investing a lot in friendships back home, in my family, to keep these relationships alive and very active, even more so than before that I left. So both of these places give me something that the other can't. And I like to pick and choose. I like to go there and then get bored and come back, and vice versa. It's almost like 2 parts of my personalities that are served by 2 different cultures, different mentalities. So, you know, Brussels.
How do they differ, your 2 personalities?
So, you know, in Brussels, you have all these progressive, civic-minded people that want to contribute to society, make the world a better place. I love it. I need this more global perspective and dynamism and so many different cultures. And then Slovenia is a different side of the coin. It's more family-based and child-focused. There's more of an entrepreneurial spirit. And to use this cliche, it's almost like Slovenia gives me roots and Brussels gives me wings to fly.
That's wonderfully said. I think Brussels gives wings to a lot of people, including to me and Valeria. And you are also raising a child right now. I'm sure you also notice the differences of how it would feel like if you stayed in Slovenia and raised a child there versus living in Brussels.
Gosh, it's a big difference. The biggest difference, which is not my case at the moment, I think, is in working hours. I think the intensity of the working day here in Brussels is just stacked against families, against working parents. Like the expectation to be available until 6 p.m., get back home by 7, cook dinner and eat and go to bed. Like, this is kind of your day. In Slovenia is different. We start early, we finish early, and then we kind of have a half of a day still available to us. Last time we went to a zoo with friends, with kids on a random Wednesday. Usually you don't go to a zoo in Brussels after work. So I think it's a bit easier. The tempo is a bit easier for families. And then combined with the family support that is usually available to people there, it just makes for a softer experience where I think here I'm really applaud all the working mothers. I'm very in awe of the hard work they do. But the fact is that you have to rely usually on some kind of paid care and paid help. So here, it's a bit more, there's a lot of things available. It's very interesting for kids. But this market-based services are very much front and center.
Petra, it has been a recurring theme in our conversation so far that you just don't want to compromise on anything that you want. And I love that for you. One big part of the compromise discussion is the one about career. And you have been one of the most active advocates about not wanting to follow a linear professional career and growth path. And you are in favor of seasonality, as how you call it. Would you be open to elaborate on it a little bit? What does it mean to you? And how do you think it will help us become less miserable, as you wrote it?
I think seasonality is something that we don't give enough credit to in our modern world. We are always running ahead, rushing, bigger, better, faster. Whereas lives are seasonal by nature, nature is seasonal, and we are part of the nature. I mean, especially women, our lives are even more cyclical. We have periods and we give birth and we have menopauses. And like failing to admit that we are in a certain season of our lives, pretending otherwise, having 35-year-old face at 70, is just taking from the magic of the moment. So what I've learned in this period, I have slowed down in certain ways, but in certain ways, my life has accelerated. And just I was trying to be very conscious of not being impatient and wanting for it to be something else. And I mean, in this, like I've taken great example from my son because, children, they don't plan for the future. They don't worry about the past. They just really fully inhabit the present moment. And I tried to savor with him as much as I could, despite the challenges and the hardships, because it's also very hard. But I think I managed to savor the magic of this period without rushing ahead. And now, again, I think the pendulum is swinging in the other direction slowly again. I mean, it's been a year and a half almost for me with my little one. And I also feel like a new period is coming and I'm very open to welcoming it. I feel it's just around the corner, not quite there yet, but whenever it comes, I will be very happy to move on also with my life.
You have lived many, many lives. And if people Google your name on YouTube, they will see a very interesting video of you singing. Did you live a completely different life in New York when you were in the US? You were singing. Tell me about your time in the US a bit.
I wanted to be an actress in New York City. I went there to attend the film academy. And this is where I also trained my stage voice, which is the reason behind the song. I mean, eventually, New York also taught me that my passion for acting is not strong enough to withstand this very demanding lifestyle that comes with it. And I'm actually happy that I put this dream aside. But in all of these things that I've been doing, whether is it acting or even policy, I'm always fundamentally interested in the human condition, in this intersection between personal and political. And this is what I'm exploring still now through the medium of writing. And I like to think that writing is a bigger strength of mine than acting or singing.
And that is exciting that you are working on a new book right now, your first book, but I'm sure it's not going to be the last. We don't know a lot about it yet, but I'm hoping that for the middle ground audience, you will open up some details about whether it's about Brussels, whether it's about your time at the Commission. I heard it has some themes of Greek mythology and gender equality. So
It's actually funny because when I wrote about it on LinkedIn, most people assume that it will be this tell-all memoir of my time in Berlemo, from the corridors of power, which has given me some ideas, frankly, for my second book. But this book is actually about Greek myths and how they relate to an ancient vision of women, how we are supposed to be, which traits we should embody. So with a collaborator of mine, which I can give a tip to your listeners and viewers, has already sat on this blue couch in the past. So now you have to watch all of the episodes to guess who that person might be. We are reinterpreting these myths and what they can still teach us today and how they can inform modern womanhood. So discarding some things that no longer serve us, expanding into some new directions. This will be the book, and it will be announced by the end of this year.
Oh, that's fantastic. I, for one, am looking forward to it. And when the time comes, we will post this clip again to make sure that people remember and read that. It sounds super interesting. Petra, with all this life that you have lived and all the homes that you have around the world, around Europe at least, how do you find your middle ground?
My middle ground at the moment is about accelerating, not slowing down. So it's about filling my time, my agenda with things that give me creative inspiration, with building community here in Brussels, with just making space and time for writing, which is not always easy with a 1-year-old that wants your full attention. Mm-hmm. But this is where I'm expanding creatively, artistically, professionally. And I think this is my next chapter. This is what my next chapter will be about. And also just hanging out with Belgian people. It's nothing more grounding than just talking with people that couldn't care less about the latest gossip from the 13th floor of the Berlaymont.
It also puts like a little less pressure on you to perform importance, I think. That's at least how I feel about hanging out with Belgians, which I recommend to everybody. Get yourself some Belgian friends, guys.
Or a husband.
Or a husband. Well, about that, we have an episode on matchmaking. And if you watch that, maybe it will give you some tips on how to find a Belgian husband. Our former guest has left a nice question for you, which very much resonates with everything we have discussed today. Andrea Bitnerova. She asked, what makes you fall in love with Brussels over and over again?
For me, what makes me fall in love with Brussels over and over again, it's how strange and unexpected this place can be at times. I will never fully get it, which is what always keeps me on my toes, and it keeps my creative juices flowing. And this is why I can just never get enough.
Petra, we ask our guests to bring something that they cannot live without in Brussels. And because you're such a Bruxelloise, I'm very curious to see what you have brought with you.
So I brought my bag, which you see, always representing Brussels. I got it at the airport a few years ago. I just walked by the Longchamp shop, and this is unfortunately not an ad, but give me a call. And I just thought I have to have this with me, so anywhere I go, I can always take a piece of Brussels with me.
That's very lovely, and I'm very curious if they still produce those, because it sounds like a perfect bag for me to put my gym clothes, my lunch tray, my makeup bag, and everything else.
Laptop, everything goes.
Petra, it's now time for the last segment of our show, which we call rapid fire questions. Ooh. These are questions meant to discover your soul if we haven't done already so. So let's go. Don't think about that much and just say what comes to your mind. Petra, what is one Belgian dish everybody should try?
Boulet sauce tomate. It's the ultimate Belgian comfort food.
The Liège meatballs.
Liège is with beer, no?
Yes, it is.
I like the tomato sauce better.
This one is okay. Where is one place you take your friends to show that Brussels is cool?
I take them to Parvis de Saint-Gilles for a beer. I think the ambience is just unbeatable. And, just like it being so twisted with the church at the end, it's just like something about Brussels character there.
And where do you yourself go to escape the bubble?
I go to Uccle. I mean, this is very far by Brussels standards. I think I spent half of the lockdowns just roaming the vast green spaces that they have there. I mean, all the way to the edge of Brussels where there's Linkebeek and there's farms and animals and like Verwinkel Forest, which sounds exactly like out of Lord of the Rings. I think not many people know it, but it's a wonderful part of town.
And it's also growing and there are so many nice, cool places there as well. What if you could design one part of Brussels experience to make life easier here? What would that be?
I would revise a European directive on the minimum maternity leave, and I would put it to 6 months, which, in my opinion, is the absolute minimum, which would benefit Belgium among other places.
Fingers crossed. If Brussels was an animal, what kind of animal would it be?
I would say a centaur. Like half horse, half man, something indescribable that defies characterization, very something twisted and mysterious.
This is my favorite question because every time we get such insightful answers, and yours is the first one of its kind. What is your favorite lunch coffee spot in Brussels?
I like this Pardon, just off Parvis Saint-Gilles, because now I just don't want to go to the Schumann area
I understand.
too often anymore. And they make this waffles according to a traditional recipe. So they're not like dry, like this van street ones that you get, but they like have this humid softness, moisture inside. It's very good.
And who is your favorite Belgian?
Princess Elizabeth. I have a soft spot for the royal family, and I will not apologize for it.
We don't talk enough about the royal family.
I mean, I talk about them a lot.
Please tell us in the comments if you would like us to talk about the royal family.
And their clothes.
I mean, she definitely seems very, very cool. And she's now off to Harvard, right?
Yes.
Let's see what's going to
happen. Can't wait to be reigned by her.
Thank you, Petra, for this lovely conversation. I'm sure that a lot of people would appreciate all the insights they have heard in this episode. And I wish you all the best in this new chapter of your life. I'm sure that a lot of people would be subscribing to your LinkedIn and Substack, Break from Berlaymont, to discover more of your thoughts. I'm rooting for you, and let's see what time brings. And we're hoping to have you later on the episode again to talk about your book.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And I wish all the best to you and to the future of this show.
And for us to have a future, you need to subscribe to our YouTube and to our social media account.
Do it.
Bye-bye.